So no slides today, but I was told that if I didn't bring slides, I would get at least one audience participation thing. So everyone has to pay attention because it'll only work if we do this all together. So, and it's simple, you don't have to stand up, but I want everyone to look at the person to their left. And then I want everyone to look at the person at their right. And everyone's laughing, right? Okay, we're done for now, and we might come back to it later. Otherwise, I may just leave it alone. Global remediation lead. So what does that actually mean? It means that they fly me all over the world to help companies recover in the middle of an attack. And I think that's the important. It's in the middle of an attack. We can't just shut down businesses. We have to be able to keep business operations going while we are working through the attack process. And that can be difficult. But what do we talk about when we have a race with no finish? So I'm going to actually use my kids. I have a 12-year-old son. He loves water polo. He's a goalie. He loves sports. You can ask him about any college team, and he's probably the best fantasy football player I've ever seen because he knows all the stats. He's ready to announce for ESPN when he gets older. The exact opposite is my 8-year-old daughter. She's an artist. She's in choir. But I'll tell you what, you put the two of them together, and they will compete. So I had the two of them down, and I'm like, okay, on your marks, get set. And my 8-year-old, who is, she likes to jump over the line that you draw. She's like, okay, Dad, you're wrong. It's no longer on your mark, get set, go. It's ready, steady, go. And in my head, I'm screaming, first you changed math, and I had to learn math all over again. And now you've taken away on your mark, get set, go. But you can't do that to an 8-year-old. So I'm like, okay, ready, steady, go. And I'm like, wait, you know what? That actually applies to the race that we have as cyber. And so ready is a great question for us today. Are we ready? I've been in the field a while. I've done some cool things. When I was at the defense contractor, I remember the day that 15 cars pulled into the parking lot nose to tail. If you've never had that experience, it's an unnerving one if you don't know why they're there. Out of the car comes the FBI and NCIS, and they're like, your network is awesome, great tools, great security. You've had a nation-state spy sitting in your midst for 17 years with a security clearance, taking your information, taking it back to China. That was the day that I moved from being just a network person where I did databases and administration and said, no more. Like, that day was the day I said, this is not allowed. You cannot have our information, and I'm going to put up a fight. Then I went to a small little startup called CrowdStrike. I spent a few years there, and I was on the ground leading the recovery team at the DNC with the Russians. Changed my mentality. You shall not mess with our way of life. Then at IBM, I've been all over the world last year, 244,000 miles in an airplane. And when you're flying around and you're working that many hours, you do not, like, there's no amount of money, right? There is no boss that's going to keep you doing that. You have to have a reason why. And for me, that reason why is that my kids deserve to grow up in a safe and better world. That one still chokes me up because that's how much I care about the fact that our world is in danger and we've got to find a way to do that. So I ask that you find the ready part of ready, steady, go. Why is it that you do what you do and what drives you? And it's not going to be money, and it's not going to be a boss. It's not going to be a job. It's good. There's going to be a core thing that keeps you doing this. And that core thing will matter when you're working 18 to 20-hour days for weeks on end to recover an organization. So item number 2, steady. Right, if you think about a sprinter, then they get steady or get set, because I'm going to keep using the old phrases sometimes. They're poised, they're ready to go. All their training has come into place. They're tense and ready to launch off on this sprint. But have we prepared properly? Are we steady? Right? How are we teaching our people to function? That steadiness, I also look at, are we having context? And I'll share context. I mean, everyone's seen the AV alerts for potentially unwanted program or potentially unwanted application, the PUPs, the PUAs. How many of our level 1 analysts have seen potentially unwanted program detected and removed on access? They're like, cool, AV did their job. Well, now I'm going to add a little more context to that same alert. Potentially unwanted program detected on a user profile on a server. That's a little more interesting, but maybe it's just, deal ply got installed and the guy was logged into a server and just kind of transferred in their roaming profile. Well, how about potentially unwanted program that's a credential theft application running as system on a domain controller? Guess what? Same alert. And the level 1 tech said everything was good, and that system doesn't even get processed up to our level 2 or level 3 techs. Context matters. But in our world of taking IT KPIs and moving them into security, we've created a culture that says, check the box, move it on because I get paid, or I'm incentivized to do my job as quick as possible, because if I leave a ticket open, I get dinged because the tickets took too long to close. So if you get one thing out of this 15 minutes is change your KPIs when it comes to security. Let your creative humans that you pay lots of money to defend your environments be creative. Now, there are so many alerts, and I believe that, we've heard people talk about the jobs and the changes, and I believe that artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence will help that process. I see our defenders using technology to solve those issues faster and faster and faster. But we have to keep that creative mindset. We're dealing with a creative attacker. But if you've got those KPIs, it's like having a 400-meter sprinter and the attacker takes off, and your defender goes, can I leave yet? And you're like, hold on, there's like 6 approvals we got to go through. You want to? No, sorry, you can't do that. Like, the attacker is like the 200-meter mark, and we were like, yeah, you can get up and start to walk now. You're never going to catch them. And I use some extreme examples just from my career. I was in Saudi Arabia, and I walked into an environment, and a person had gotten up from his desk, and he'd walked into the data center, and the data center was about as big as this room. And he went up and down the racks through the middle of the rows and pulled all the power plugs out. Storage arrays, network appliances, firewalls, switches, everything. Corrupted data left and right. Saved their company. They were under a Shamoon attack. The Iranians were encrypting all of their data. They saved the business. He saved the business. Now, I'm not saying that you empower your employees to walk in and pull all the power plugs out of your systems. But he understood the situation, he understood the context, and he knew that if he didn't make a decision, that would be bad. Now, he saved their company, but what if he had been wrong? So you have to find a level of empowerment to let people make those decisions, because those small battles are short little sprints, and if you hamstring them and you don't let them leave when they need to, they're already behind the curve. And Maersk is a great example of that. Does anyone know how long it was from initial infection to complete outage? 1 hour, 57 minutes. How many of you have a process that would allow someone to make a decision in less time to stop an attack of that aspect? This is the world we live in today. This is where we have third-party systems sitting in our environments. We let them in, right? And we have to defend them, but we don't isolate and control them. Or we say, hey, you know what, we put them up in the cloud. The cloud is just the data center down the street. It's still a computer, it's still on the internet. You just don't have it in your room anymore, which makes it even a bigger threat. And how many devices are part of your enterprise that are sitting here on the network today? Like, do you have visibility of what these devices are doing and what aspect they're doing? If I was an attacker, I would, do a lot of activity. I would assign my device to do activity in the network, never associate to command and control. And when you came outside and plugged into the internet at your house or at the hotel, I'd download all the data so that I would never have C2 on firewalls. Makes it that difference there, right? But that's comes like the attackers, they have command and control. That's their C2. Right? We have context and communication, maybe some collaboration. This is how we beat attackers. So we had ready, we had steady, and the last one is? No, it's not. You're already running. It's don't stop, right? I mean, if you think that we're just going to start the cyber thing now, we've lost that. You're running now. We are running together, I hope. So you all look to the left and you all look to the right, and if you did it exactly as I said and you're facing the right direction, you intimately know the back of the head of two people. And those that are hackers went the other way, and they're like, no, I actually made facial contact because I wasn't listening. I have lots of friends who I classify as hackers. They're very great. And I want to make sure that they're part of the race. So the one thing I ask is, people who break into networks, people who steal things, they are criminals. That's who they are. Hackers are the people that we partner with. They're part of our teams. They help us find the vulnerabilities because they think differently. So if you don't know the two people whose back of the heads you know intimately now, please introduce yourself, because we're running together. We're going to stay running together. If you do know them, find two more back of heads that you can find later and have a conversation, because this race will never end. You cannot win. I don't care how fast you sprint, there will not be a finish line. We need to pick each other up and we need to carry them. You need to grab the baton. You need to teach them, because this is how we win, right? This is how we stay ahead, or at least together, against the attackers. So focus on working together, focus on coming together, and the fact that you're here says that. Thank you.